I am riding in a taxi with no driver. And no, this is not just a test. Driverless taxis are already available to the public in 3 US cities. But if, like me, you don't live in one of those cities, you probably have a whole lot of questions. And today we're diving into the current state of autonomous taxis in North America. We will start with a quick look at how Waymo got here, and then I'll show you what it's actually like to ride in one and how it compares to a typical rideshare. And finally, I'll share my thoughts on this technology, including where not just bikes missed the mark in his recent critique of driverless cars.
Waymo traces its history back to 2009, originally as the Google self-driving car project. In 2015, this ultimately led to the first fully autonomous drive on public roads that took place in a specially designed car in Austin, Texas. Waymo was spun off to be made its own independent company the following year, though still under Google's parent company, Alphabet. Beginning in 2017 in Phoenix, Waymo started offering rides to select members of the public, with service opening to everyone in 2020. In 2024, Waymo added service to the general public in San Francisco and Los Angeles. So what's it actually like to ride in a Waymo? Really, it's remarkably unremarkable. After a quick registration in the app, you pick a pickup spot. If it's somewhere straightforward like the airport, the car comes right to you just like a rideshare. For trickier locations without obvious pickup or drop-off spots, the app will suggest options nearby the address that you've put in. You can track your car as it approaches in the app, and of course, it's very easy to spot the Waymo pulling up, given its distinct design complete with LiDAR, radar, and cameras on the car. The car pulls up to the designated pickup spot and stops. You unlock it with the app and get in. Once you're buckled up, you hit go on the screen. You can ride in the front passenger seat, but not the driver's seat. I found the Waymos to be clean and comfortable. You can control the music from the screen or from the app, which is a nice feature, but it would have been even nicer to have Spotify integration. While I've met some very interesting Uber drivers in my travels, sometimes it's nice to not meet interesting people, and there's something uniquely peaceful about having the entire taxi to yourself. Rides can be a bit longer than a rideshare right now, as Waymo does not regularly drive on freeways, but this is apparently coming. As for the driving itself, I noticed 3 key differences compared to human drivers. The first is that it tends to stay in the left lane even when the right lane is clear and there's no left turn coming up. Second is that it very strictly adheres to the speed limit. And the third is that it's quite conservative at yellow lights, stopping in situations where a human driver would have kept going without hesitation. Now we need to talk about the recent video from prominent urbanist YouTuber Not Just Bikes. We actually have some similarities. Both of us are originally from London, Canada, or fake London, as he calls it, and both of us have since moved to walkable cities with good bike infrastructure. Mine being in Canada, his being in Europe. He makes a lot of good points in his video, and certainly has far greater urbanist credentials than I do. But with a 1 million subscriber platform comes a responsibility for accuracy, and I think that he missed the mark when discussing the safety and driving characteristics of the currently operating driverless taxis. Early in his video, he mentions how often GM's Cruise autonomous cars required human intervention.
As of last November, Cruise confirmed that their robotaxis required human assistance every 4 to 5 miles.
But it's only later that he notes that Cruise suspended operations after the 2023 accident. While they have resumed limited testing this year, they're not currently offering public autonomous rides like Waymo is.
While editing this video, there was news that Cruise is actually getting shut down.
He emphasizes his view that these vehicles aren't safe, advocating for safety drivers.
most of these incidents would not have even happened if the self-driving car companies still had safety drivers like they used to. But they're under so much pressure to deliver that they'd rather fuck up the city and even potentially kill people rather than to admit that the technology isn't ready yet.
He then goes on to talk about the first fatal collision involving a self-driving vehicle.
She was crossing this road at night while pushing a bicycle and was hit by a modified Volvo SUV driven autonomously by the automated driving system developed by Uber.
But he fails to mention that there was a safety driver in that vehicle, and also Uber sold off their autonomous driving division after that accident. His criticism then shifts to Tesla's so-called self-driving.
Like this Tesla in self-driving mode that suddenly came to a stop on the highway and caused an 8-car pileup.
But Tesla doesn't actually claim to offer true autonomous driving, making it irrelevant to this discussion. In case you're curious, on a scale of 0 to 5 that the Society of Automotive Engineers uses to rate self-driving abilities, with regular driving being 0, regular human driving, and fully autonomous being 5, Waymo is a 4, but Tesla's so-called, for marketing purposes, self-driving is actually only level 2. So it really doesn't come into play here. Focusing on safety concerns from companies that aren't currently offering public autonomous rides really seems unfair. What I would like to see Not Just Bikes do is critique the safety data from Waymo that they've shared on their website and in their academic publications. I'm no expert in this, but the data seems persuasive that these are safe. And frankly, I've never seen a Waymo scrolling TikTok while driving, unlike some Uber drivers I've encountered. Now let's talk about driving style. Not Just Bikes claims that
these cars are trained to drive like Americans on American roads where cars are
and continues on later to say,
which brings us to another potential issue with these cars. They are not so much programmed as they are trained. They learned how to drive by monitoring what real human drivers did through millions of miles of driving.
I cannot claim to know exactly how these vehicles are programmed or trained at a technical level, but having taken multiple Waymo rides, my strong impression is, at least in 2 obvious ways, they do not drive like Americans. First, they're relatively aggressive in stopping for yellow lights, and secondly, they diligently adhere to the speed limits. I don't want to seem like this is a Waymo-sponsored video, and I don't think that Waymo is perfect. For example, one of my rides ended in some type of industrial business parking lot where the Waymo seemed to be in the way of a UPS driver trying to make a delivery to the business. Also, some of the Waymo-supplied B-roll actually has a manually driven vehicle in it. And I mean, I'm glad about their honesty for that, but it's not a great look when that's the footage that they're providing for someone who's trying to defend their autonomous operations. Overall, though, I think that many of the broad points in the Not Just Bikes video would hold up even if he had been more accurate about the current state of autonomous vehicles available to the public in North America right now. But I would like to see a follow-up video more focused on Waymo specifically, since it really is the only one, and see what he has to say about Waymo's driving style and safety, and see if all of those general criticisms still hold.
So after looking at the history, the ride, and the criticisms, here's my take. This isn't the fix for urban transportation, but I do feel safe in a driverless car, and there are advantages over a typical rideshare. The technology might be slower to evolve than expected, but the future of cars is autonomous, and I don't think that it's a future to fear. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe.